There's a reason neuroscientists still struggle to fully understand the INFJ mind. It doesn't follow the same patterns as everyone else. You process life differently. While most people think in straight lines, your mind moves in layers, emotional, intuitive, and logical all at once. You can feel someone's pain while analyzing the root cause and imagining how to heal it all in the same moment. That level of depth doesn't fit into a lab scan or a scientific formula. You're not driven just by logic or emotion, you live in the space between them. Your intuition reads what can't be seen, your empathy feels what isn't said, and your reasoning connects them both into meaning. That's why researchers can map brain activity, but they can't measure the complexity of your inner world. You see patterns that data can't capture, patterns in energy, emotion, and truth. To most people, your calmness looks mysterious, but to you, it's the result of constant analysis of thoughts, feelings, and motives. You live with a kind of internal duality, the thinker and the feeler, the dreamer and the realist. And when science tries to simplify that, it falls short because the INFJ mind isn't built for simplicity, it's built for depth. In this video, you'll understand why even neuroscientists can't fully decode the INFJ mind and how your brain operates on a frequency few can comprehend. Before we start, subscribe to Brainy 1, like this video, and comment, "My mind can't be measured." Now let's dive into the psychology behind what makes your inner world so unexplainably powerful. Their brain processes emotion and logic simultaneously. For most people, emotion and logic exist on opposite sides of the scale. One has to quiet down for the other to function. But for an INFJ, they work in perfect synchronization. Your brain doesn't switch between feeling and thinking. It blends both into one seamless process. When you face a decision, you don't just calculate the logical outcome, you also sense the emotional impact it will have on you and everyone involved. It's why your choices are often wiser, more considerate, and harder for others to understand. This dual wiring makes your thought process unusually deep. You can evaluate facts while empathizing with the people behind them. You might be analyzing a situation, but at the same time, your intuition is reading emotional signals that logic alone would miss. This is what gives you emotional intelligence, not softness, but precision. You don't just think about what's right, you feel what's right, and the two align like instinct and reason sharing the same voice. Neuroscientists can observe this overlap activity lighting up in both the emotional and analytical regions of the INFJ brain at once, but they can't explain how you merge them so effortlessly. What they see as contradiction, you live as balance. You can dissect a problem like a scientist while understanding it like an artist. You know when to trust data and when to follow your intuition, and often both lead to the same conclusion. That's why your decisions seem unpredictable to others. They think you're ruled by feeling until your reasoning proves sharper than theirs. They think you're overly rational until your empathy exposes truths they missed. You don't choose between the head and the heart. You integrate them. That's the quiet genius of the INFJ mind, a constant harmony between thought and feeling, logic and emotion, all working together to form understanding no machine can decode. Their intuition works like predictive coding. Your intuition isn't magic, it's mental precision disguised as instinct. Neuroscientists call it predictive coding, and while they can measure the mechanics of it, they still can't explain how INFJs do it with such accuracy. Your subconscious is constantly running silent simulations, analyzing tiny details most people overlook. A tone of voice, a hesitation, a shift in energy, a pattern in someone's words, and turning those fragments into predictions about what will happen next. You don't even realize you're doing it, you just know. While others rely on logic after an event, you process it before it happens. Your brain pulls information from experience, emotion, and intuition, then combines it into a mental blueprint. You can often sense what someone's about to say, how a situation will unfold, or when something feels off, not because you're guessing, but because your mind has already calculated hundreds of unseen variables in seconds. That's the hidden power behind your intuition. It's not random, it's refined pattern recognition powered by emotional intelligence. This constant simulation makes you highly perceptive, but also easily drained. Your brain rarely stops running in the background. You're always reading, analyzing, sensing, even in silence. It's why crowds can overwhelm you and why you need solitude to reset. The world doesn't realize that every glance, every tone, every shift in body language gives your mind more data to process. You don't just see, you interpret. Scientists can measure the electrical activity of your intuition lighting up before conscious awareness kicks in, but they still can't define how you make connections that no one else sees. To them, it's a mystery. To you, it's instinct. You don't have to think through every possibility. You just feel the right one forming beneath the surface, quietly guiding your decisions. That's what makes the INFJ intuition so rare. It's not guessing, it's early recognition. Your mind predicts behavior, emotion, and consequence in real time. You live slightly ahead of the moment, always seeing the undercurrent before the wave hits. And that's something no brain scan has ever been able to explain. They experienced heightened empathic resonance. For an INFJ, empathy isn't a feeling, it's a physical experience. Your brain's mirror neuron system fires so intensely that when you witness someone else's pain, your body reacts as though it's happening to you. Scientists can see this activation in scans, but they can't measure what it feels like to live with it every day. You don't just understand emotions, you absorb them. You can walk into a room and immediately sense tension, sadness, or excitement that no one has spoken about yet. It's not sensitivity, it's resonance. This heightened resonance is both a gift and a burden. You can connect with people on levels most never reach, making others feel deeply seen and safe around you. But that same ability can overwhelm you, especially when you absorb emotions from too many sources at once. Your nervous system picks up emotional frequencies like an antenna, and when too many signals collide, you shut down to protect yourself. That's why you craved solitude. It's not avoidance, it's emotional detox. You've likely had moments where you felt heavy or anxious without knowing why, only to realize later that you were feeling someone else's emotion. That's empathic resonance at work. Your brain is wired to reflect emotional states so powerfully that it blurs the line between self and others. This deep synchronization makes you an extraordinary listener, counselor, and friend. But it also means you must guard your energy carefully. What makes this fascinating to neuroscientists is that empathy in you behaves almost like a sixth sense. While most people process emotions intellectually, I see they're sad, you process them experientially. I feel their sadness. It's instantaneous, involuntary, and often accurate. But because you experience emotion this deeply, your brain must constantly regulate to avoid overload. That's why you feel both emotionally mature and easily drained, a paradox scientists haven't fully decoded. Your empathy isn't weakness, it's insight. You read hearts the way others read words. You translate silence into emotion and emotion into understanding. It's what makes you extraordinary and what makes the INFJ mind so hard for science to define. They possess deep internal pattern recognition. The INFJ mind is wired like a silent algorithm, one that constantly detects meaning beneath chaos. While most people notice events in isolation, you instinctively connect them. Every emotion, conversation, or memory becomes a piece of a much larger puzzle. Your brain doesn't just store experiences, it organizes them into emotional and psychological blueprints. That's why you can look at someone's behavior and instantly understand not only what they're doing, but why. This deep internal pattern recognition is the cornerstone of your insight. You process abstract emotional data, tone, timing, inconsistencies, body language, and weave it into logic faster than most people can consciously think. While others might take months to see a pattern in relationships or decisions, you recognize it within moments. You can see emotional loops repeating in people's lives, sense unspoken motives, or predict outcomes that seem invisible to everyone else. It's not that you're psychic, it's that your subconscious never stops processing. Your mind functions like an emotional supercomputer, translating complex feelings into structure. You can map cause and effect across time, understanding how childhood experiences shape adult reactions, or how small betrayals turn into long-term resentment. To you, behavior is data, and every human interaction is filled with hidden information waiting to be decoded. This ability often makes you the seer in your circle, the one who understands what's going on before anyone says it out loud. But this gift also comes with weight. Constant pattern detection means your brain rarely rests. You can't easily switch it off, even when you want to. You see through people's words, and sometimes that awareness isolates you. You wish you could unsee what you know. The lies hidden in smiles, the fear behind confidence, the exhaustion in someone's silence. But your mind doesn't work that way. It keeps connecting, analyzing, understanding. Neuroscientists can track the hyperactivity between your brain's intuitive and reasoning centers, but what they can't explain is how it turns into foresight, how your insights feel more known than guessed. That's the INFJ paradox. Your logic feels like intuition, and your intuition behaves like logic. You don't predict, you perceive. And that's why your pattern recognition feels almost supernatural, even though it's deeply human. They operate in mental layers, not linear thought. For most people, thought is linear. One idea leads to another in a straight, logical sequence. But for you, as an INFJ, thinking is multidimensional. Your mind doesn't move in lines, it moves in layers. While someone else is focusing on one angle of a problem, you're processing 10 different ones at once. The logic behind it, the emotion underneath it, the history that shaped it, and the future it might create. It's not overthinking, it's depth thinking. You don't just see one version of truth. You see all of them simultaneously. This layered cognition is why you often need more time to respond. Your silence isn't hesitation, it's calculation. Your brain is stacking insights, linking memories, and comparing emotional data all at once before you decide what's worth saying. You don't rely solely on facts, and you don't rely solely on feeling. You synthesize both into something more complete. That's why when you finally speak, your words often stop people in their tracks. They carry the weight of layered understanding that others haven't reached yet. Neuroscientists can observe this phenomenon, the unusual synchronization between your brain's left and right hemispheres, where analytical and emotional processes overlap more fluidly than average. But what science still can't capture is the experience of it, what it feels like to hold multiple emotional truths in your mind while analyzing them rationally at the same time. That dual awareness can be both empowering and exhausting. You might find yourself explaining something others can't quite grasp, not because they lack intelligence, but because they think linearly while you think relationally. Your brain connects past, present, and potential outcomes like layers of a map, showing you directions most people can't even see. It's the reason you sense consequences before they arrive, why you anticipate emotions before they're expressed, and why your advice feels decades wiser than your age. But this gift also requires solitude. Layered thinking demands space to breathe. That's why noise, chaos, or shallow conversations feel draining. They interrupt your inner structure. You need silence to let your mind build clarity from the complexity it constantly absorbs. And when you do, the result is insight that feels less like thought and more like revelation. They require extended solitude for neural recovery. For the INFJ, solitude isn't a luxury, it's survival. Your mind is constantly processing, absorbing, and decoding emotional information from everyone around you. Every interaction, every tone, every small shift in someone's energy gets registered in your subconscious like data on an overloaded hard drive. While others might walk away from a conversation and instantly forget it, you carry fragments of it in your mind, replaying, analyzing, and feeling its emotional weight long after it's over. That kind of constant input exhausts your nervous system in ways most people can't imagine. High empathy means high exposure. You're tuned into the emotional frequencies around you, whether you want to be or not. Crowded environments, constant social noise, and emotionally charged conversations flood your brain with stimulation. To scientists, it looks like overstimulation of the limbic and mirror neuron systems. To you, it feels like emotional burnout. You're not antisocial or distant. You're simply managing an internal system that runs hotter and deeper than most. That's why solitude for you isn't about isolation, it's about regulation. When you pull back, you're not running away from people, you're recalibrating. You're giving your brain time to process everything it has absorbed, to restore emotional balance, and to return to a place of clarity. In solitude, you detox from the world's noise, reconnect with your intuition, and rebuild your energy quietly. You don't just rest, you reset. And when you emerge from that stillness, you're sharper, calmer, and more grounded. People often notice that your presence feels stronger after you've been alone for a while. That's because solitude doesn't drain you, it refuels you. It allows your intuitive systems to organize the chaos into understanding, to turn emotional overload into wisdom. Neuroscientists might see solitude as downtime, but for the INFJ, it's active repair. Your brain is unwinding thousands of emotional threads, sorting truth from noise, and restoring harmony between logic and feeling. Without that recovery time, you don't just feel tired, you start to lose connection with yourself. That's why alone time isn't optional for you. It's not an escape from the world, it's how you survive it and how you return stronger every time. They think symbolically, not just literally. The INFJ mind doesn't see life in surface details. It sees meaning beneath everything. Where most people process events as facts, you process them as symbols. Your brain naturally translates experiences, emotions, and memories into metaphors that hold deeper truth. When something happens, you don't just ask what occurred, you ask what it represents. To you, everything carries a lesson, an emotional signature, or a purpose waiting to be uncovered. This symbolic way of thinking allows you to connect dots that others miss. You might see betrayal not only as pain, but as a mirror reflecting self-worth. You might interpret failure not as an ending, but as a transformation, the death of one version of you and the birth of another. It's not dramatization, it's interpretation. Your brain is wired to seek patterns, and symbolism is the language your subconscious uses to explain them. That's why your dreams, imagination, and creativity feel so vivid. When your mind can't express something directly, it shows you through imagery. You might see a storm as emotional chaos, a locked door as suppressed truth, or light breaking through clouds as clarity after struggle. You don't just understand meaning, you feel it in pictures, sensations, and associations that are hard to put into words. Scientists can study how your brain's associative networks link abstract ideas together faster than usual, but they can't measure how it feels to live this way, constantly translating the unseen into understanding. You experience life like an artist interpreting energy, turning every moment into insight. To others, your thoughts might seem mysterious or overly deep, but to you, symbolic thinking is how the world makes sense, how emotion turns into wisdom, and how pain becomes purpose. They read energy before expression. Before someone even speaks, you already know how they feel. The INFJ mind is highly attuned to energy, not in a mystical sense, but in an intuitive and neurological one. Your brain picks up on micro-expressions, voice tone changes, breathing patterns, and body language faster than your conscious mind can process. What others might overlook as vibes or instincts, you interpret as data. You can sense tension before conflict, sadness behind a smile, or dishonesty beneath calm words. It's not magic. It's deep perception born from empathy and observation. You don't rely on what people say to understand them. You rely on what their energy communicates. A single glance, a shift in posture, a pause before they answer, all of it tells you a story. And because you process emotion and logic simultaneously, your brain builds an emotional map in real time. You can tell when someone is lying, hiding something, or emotionally withdrawing, even when they're doing everything to appear composed. That awareness makes you both deeply understanding and quietly guarded. Neuroscientists have long studied how INFJs show elevated activity in regions responsible for reading emotional and social cues, but they still can't explain the accuracy of your intuition. You seem to perceive what isn't visible, the subtext behind every action. It's like your brain listens to the energy between words rather than the words themselves. That's why small talk feels empty to you, it lacks resonance. You prefer authenticity because your sensitivity makes dishonesty feel almost physically uncomfortable. This ability gives you an edge in relationships, creativity, and leadership, but it also makes emotional boundaries vital. Constantly reading energy can become draining if you don't take time to disconnect and recharge. Still, this is your natural power, the ability to feel truth before it's spoken. It's what makes you compassionate yet discerning, and why people often feel both seen and exposed in your presence. They store emotional memories like blueprints. When most people remember an event, they recall details, the time, the place, the conversation. But when you, as an INFJ, remember something, you recall the emotional structure beneath it, how it felt, what it meant, and why it mattered. Your memory doesn't store facts in isolation, it stores emotional architecture. You can revisit a moment from years ago and feel the energy of the room, the tone of someone's voice, and the unspoken emotion that lingered in the air. It's not nostalgia, it's emotional mapping. This kind of memory makes you incredibly perceptive and reflective. You don't just remember what someone said, you remember how they said it and what their energy revealed that their words didn't. It's why you're often right about people even when you can't explain why. Your brain links emotion and memory so tightly that experiences become lessons embedded deep in your intuition. Every interaction adds to your internal database, teaching you what trust feels like, what deceit feels like, and what peace feels like, so that when you encounter them again, you instantly recognize them. Scientists can see heightened communication between the amygdala, which processes emotion, and the hippocampus, which manages memory, in INFJ-like brains, but they can't fully measure the depth of it. You don't just store emotion, you store the meaning attached to it. That's why it's so hard for you to forget people who impacted you deeply. Even when time passes, the emotional signature of that experience stays imprinted. This emotional memory gives you empathy that feels almost prophetic. You can sense when someone's repeating an old pattern or when a situation echoes something familiar. It's like emotional deja vu. You can feel the blueprint unfolding again before it fully happens. But it also makes letting go hard because your brain doesn't forget lessons that shaped your soul. For you, memory isn't about the past. It's a living reference point for understanding human nature. Every feeling becomes a clue, every experience becomes a pattern, and every heartbreak becomes another page in the quiet architecture of your wisdom. Their inner world outpaced external reality. The INFJ mind operates at a speed the outside world rarely matches. Your thoughts, emotions, and insights move in quiet, parallel streams, analyzing, interpreting, and predicting all at once. While most people process life as it happens, you're already a few steps ahead, mentally constructing outcomes before anyone else realizes there's a pattern forming. It's not impatience or arrogance, it's simply how your brain works. You're living half a second into the future, always running internal simulations that others can't see. Because your processing runs so fast, communication can feel frustrating. You've already connected all the dots, but explaining your thought process feels like slowing down to translate a language no one else speaks. You often stay quiet, not because you don't have anything to say, but because words can't keep up with what's happening in your mind. That's why people sometimes call you mysterious, distant, or hard to read. They sense depth, but they can't follow the speed of your internal world. Your brain functions like a parallel processor, juggling multiple realities at once. You're thinking about how someone feels, why they feel that way, what they'll likely do next, and how to respond, all within seconds. It's a superpower when channeled correctly, but it can also make you feel disconnected when others can't follow. You might appear detached when in truth you're just processing faster than you can express. Neuroscientists studying intuitive and empathic cognition have noted how INFJ-type minds show unusual synchronization between analytical and emotional regions, but science still can't replicate your balance of speed and sensitivity. Machines can process data faster, but they can't feel it. You can. That's what makes you rare. You don't live reactively, you live responsively. You understand people, decisions, and emotions before they've even finished unfolding. And while others are still trying to make sense of the moment, you're already quietly preparing for what comes next. That's not mystery, that's mastery.